Hey, can we make sure everybody's phone's on silent or vibrate? Thank you. Hey, this is Michelle with Status Coup. Thank you for tuning in. I am here in Illinois at the UAW factory with many members who we have had the honor to speak with in 2023 during the general strike between the big three that brought together about 50,000 at the peak of it, workers in the auto industry. And I have heard news on the street that there is an attempt to bring about another general strike in 2028. Potentially, I would love to learn more about that today, but more importantly, a lot of these strikes get covered while they're in the news cycle because there's really striking visual, there's really striking stories, but then they fall into silence with time, and that's not what we want to do here at Status Quo. We want to try and follow up with folks, see what the bargaining outcome has flourished or not, and that's why we're here. I would love to start by introducing the folks that are sitting with us today. Starting from the other side, I'll pass the mic to you guys.
Oh, okay. How you doing? I'm Jason Wachowski. They call me Wacko. I'm the Vice President, UAW Local 551.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? My name is Tucson Watson. I'm a co-chair of the Civil and Human Rights Committee at Local 551.
Hi, I'm Erica Walker. I am a trustee here at Local 551.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Lenny Faria. I'm a guide on the executive board here at 551.
And I'm Horace Hardy, the financial secretary at Local 551.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for making time to be with us here today. We're very grateful. It is folks like you who speak up and step out there and be the change you want to see in the world that really keeps things going. I would love to learn more, since we were last here in 2023 with John here with you guys. How had the outcome of the bargaining impact everybody's work, everybody's personal life, especially followed by a year of presidential election and just drastic change on the federal level. Again, I will pass the mic around, and whoever wants to share can speak to it.
Right on. So after the strike, we had some pretty good gains. The company obviously fought back, and they're still fighting back. They find anything that they could do to try to needle us, to drag it out and play a delay a tactic game. So essentially we won the battle on that, but the war isn't over, and we got to continue to keep fighting for what we just fought for. The raise that we got kind of put us back on track, but it didn't put us above anything. It just kind of almost got us caught up with everything that we lost throughout those years, over a decade of no raises. We were very stagnant for a while. With a lot of things that are going on in the world now, the company they're fighting back. All companies are fighting back. There's some of these, that are backing out. Some of the big three, they're backing out from their promises to keep products in America, and they're shutting down plants that they said they were committing to investing in, and they're backing out. And it's hard because, and this might be in another tangent, but like, you really can't go to the board, and try to get them to give us a turn on this, because we're down to two members of the NLRB, right? So we're down to two members, and we can't even hold a quorum, so they can't even hold a hearing to see if the company has done anything out of hand or whatever. So who do we really go to? There just hasn't been anybody assigned to replace those people that came out yet, and that's kind of maybe a political tactic, if you will. We're just gonna have to see how it plays out, I guess. Anybody else?
I guess well, since the strike, one thing I can say is that the raise was definitely a need, but it did not put us ahead, because the economy goes up and up every year, and we're just almost at the level of economy where we can survive. It's a shame how you get a young lady with children and she's struggling to pay her rent because economy is just so high. I don't think it's fair. I don't like it at all. And That's why we have to stick together as a team.
Well, I'm just going to piggyback off of what you said. Team. That's the number one thing that we have to look at. There is no I in team, and that's something that we were able to eliminate during our 2023 strike, where we banded together and we fought together and we were on the front lines together. We had a lot of companies that were not in support of what we were doing because they knew that they were next on the list. But, that's something that's never going to deter from our main goal, which is upping the working class, making sure that we are all at a level where we don't have to make decisions like, are we going to get groceries? Are we going to get gas? Are we going to pay for diapers? Are we going to get childcare? Those type of things are always going to be there, but we are trying to fight to eliminate that struggle.
Yeah, I totally agree with Lenny. Initially, I was excited about the contract, excited about the gains that we got. Definitely was needed. But then I feel like the economy kind of took a turn. I've been here for 25 years working at Ford Motor Company. And, I have a family of four. Being the sole provider, those gains was definitely needed. But then it's like once the economy kind of took a turn, bills started going up higher. Gas prices started going up. Food started going up. And now I've noticed it seemed like I was kind of doing better financially before the contract. Actually, 10 years ago, I feel like, than I am now. So something definitely needs to change.
Thank you. And yeah, I cannot stress enough to echo what everybody said here. Just because the strike's over doesn't mean the fighting's over. And if anything, with the rate at which the price of everything is skyrocketing, catching up with the economy that we're in right now is an endless fight. And our team being based in other parts of the country, coming out here to continuously cover the strike, it's a lot of cost as well, a lot of work, and we want to thank everybody for tuning in to watch and to help amplify these folks' voice. And if you can like and subscribe and donate to our team so that we can continue this work, we are going to be deeply appreciative. We're going to cover another protest later today about the anti-war movement going on in downtown Chicago. But going back to our story here today, this is the second location on our trip to cover the economic crisis, especially under this new forever war that we're entering into. We have spoken with folks who are not unionized workers, do not have health insurance, do not have livable wage, and have heard a wide range of struggle, from being selective about what to spend money on, being unable to fix their car and having to walk to work. We would love to learn more about how the economy is impacting you guys right now, especially since the war started and the government spent over $25 billion on just the Iran war alone abroad, instead of spending that money on helping the people in the country. Again, I'll start from Paco over here.
There's definitely a struggle with just the rising cost of things, like you were touching on. Gas is a big one. Food is a big one. It seems like we just can't get ahead. Every time we get a little bit more, or we get closer to that mark where we need to be, they move that mark. So we get there and then they move it. That's why we need contracts that are breathable, and it's one of the reasons why we fought for the cost of living allowance so hard, was so that we can try to mitigate some of the problems that we have with trying to keep up with the cost of inflation. So that kind of helps out a little bit. But yeah, like Horace said, I mean, we started off, all of a sudden now we had a good flux of income rolling in, and then price of everything kind of went up. So like our value of our dollar just didn't seem to go as far. For people that like Horace and I, and a lot of us here, we're pretty established. I got over 27 years. I can retire in 2.2 years. So I'm pretty well set where I'm at. But like when you get in a lot of these people that are just starting off, Like, that's the next generation of people. And if they can't start making a living wage and stand on their own, and they're relying on somebody else to support them, well, then that just puts the burden on someone that's already been established that's trying to help them out. And if that newer group of people can't get a foothold on something, get some traction, and who are they going to rely on when those of us that are, kind of helping them along are gone? You know what I'm saying? So we really got to make sure we look out for everybody. We got to look for future developments, and we got to make sure that we keep things open so that we can have those conversations where we can negotiate. They did it to us back in the day back when they did the concessionary agreement. They pulled our money back and everything else that we just negotiated for because the company was going through a tough time. And that's where we had such a hard time trying to get all these gains back. If they want to open it up, well, then we got to make sure it's open for us too. So if there's things that we need to come up, then, hey, we have a new obstacle for our members and your employees talking to the company. What can we do about it? And we might have to sit down and open it up again. But we'd really like is to just let the company adhere to the contract that they signed and they agreed to. You made your commitments, abide by your commitments. That's all we're asking right now. We'll fight the rest of this stuff at the next contract negotiation, and it's probably not going to be pretty because everybody has a bad taste in their mouth from the company side of things. They're not going to want to be talking to us because they know we're in for a battle.
Nice. Well, with that being said, this is America. As a child coming up on the south side of Chicago, I thought America was the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. But who would think that on 2026 that we will be going through an economic downfall? This economic downfall, it just doesn't impact your pockets as far as financially, but what it does, the crime rate raises up because you have people who's struggling and don't have a way to go out and get certain things. So they go out and they commit these crimes. So it all has a domino effect, if you ask me. There's no way gas should be $6, $7 a gallon. Downtown Chicago gas is $7 a gallon. How many gallons can you possibly get for $7 a gallon? On the job paying minimum wage is $15 an hour. That's terrible. And like I said before, I don't like it. It sucks. And if we don't do something about this administration that's in office, it's going to continue to suck.
I have been here in Ford Motor Company for 25 years, and in the 25 years that I've been here, I feel the economy, the break in the economy. I feel it. I think I feel it more than I've ever felt it since I've been here. The everything going up is really a struggle for everybody. I'm sure everybody feels it. We got to make a change. Everything's going up except our paychecks.
Well, I just want to touch on what everybody said. In 2028, we're going to go up, and we're going to go up to contract negotiations and no concessions is my number one goal, because I'm somebody who doesn't have 25 years, who doesn't have 30 years in the plant. I only got 13. I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm trying to raise a family, and I need this company to grow just like my kids are growing. And I need my wage to increase the way their needs increase. And so in 2028, when we're up for a new contract, the number one goal is to get everything and give up nothing.
No, that's good stuff. I'm just going to be really brief. The word is commitment here. First of all, I'm extremely happy, even with all this, to just be a part of American manufacturing. But the one thing I just really wish, and I know there's bigger things than just the middle class, that's what it looks like, but I just kind of really wish that the government would just really, just be committed to the middle class here. I feel like the middle class is actually the ones that's forgotten.
Thank you. And following up on this talking point about the government, I know you misspoke earlier by saying America is the greatest company, but in truth, we are now in a landscape where it is being ran more than ever like a business, by a failed businessman. How does it feel for you guys as people who have had this experience of fighting against a business that want to restrict and put you in a disadvantage constantly? How does it feel to see now the entire country being run in the same model?
I mean, it's the same thing that we get all the time. It's the same thing year after year. We got to find something to complain about. They got to find something to drill us about. There's always, you're going to have some good things that you agree with out of a administratorship, whether you can't stand who's in it or not, and then you're going to find a lot of things that you dislike. I try to focus on the things that we can change right now, because a lot of things that we don't have control over and we can't change right now, we're just going to waste our time and our energy. So let's focus our energy where it counts, right? Where can we put our energies to where it's going to do some good, as opposed to just worrying and wondering about all the junk that we just have no control over. So this is where we get into things like this, and education is key, right? You gotta inform people of what the problems are, because other people can look and they can speculate on it, but unless they get the word directly from somebody and they're not experiencing it, how are they going to know what the actual problems are? I think that with all the money that's being spent overseas on everything else and everyone else that we help out, and we can't even help out our homeless veterans here. It's really sick. It's saddening. I see them every day, and I got a short drive to work. I see at least one homeless veteran standing on the corner over there at 130th and Torrance, just asking for a little bit of change just so he can feed himself. And how do we work on finding that person a job? And if they are unemployable of whatever reason, what can we do to help them to become employable or help them find their resources? That's not what the government's working on. The government's hiding all that stuff right now because, like you said, they're trying to preserve their money, their bottom line, because they're running it, like you said, like a business. It's people like us that are out here fighting to make sure that we can get our veterans a spot to live or a little food in their stomach, help them find a job, help them get back to where they're going, help them deal with their mental problems, their PTSDs, whatever it is that put them in that position that prevented them from moving forward. We have to help find them their means to move forward.
Wow. With that being said, I'm going to go a little different. Now, the President of the United States does not have an idea of where 124th Street is in Chicago, so I don't even boggle my mind worrying about the President. See, what we need to do, we need to choose our mayors, our governors, our congressmen, our senators, our aldermen. We need to go out there and we need to pick our own aldermen, senators, and everybody in these political positions that's in your neighborhood, because that's where it starts at. We put these people in office and we don't hold them up to everything that they say they're going to do. You got to show up at these people's offices. If you show up at their office with your whole neighborhood, I guarantee you will get some results, because they want that spot again the next election.
So I just want to say that I'm a citizen. I'm not a customer. And in the country where I live, I deserve to be happy. I deserve to have rights. I deserve to have whatever I want and whatever I dream, because this is America. And in America, I believe the American dream still exists. And it's up to our leaders that are in office to make that dream possible. The pursuit of happiness is something that we should always strive for. And lately, I haven't been happy. Lately, I've been sad. lately I've been angry. So I'm just calling on the people who make those important decisions to think about everyone in America, not just themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty good, guys. Like you kind of said, the country is being ran like a failed business, and with any business, I don't care what type of business you have, if you're just focusing mainly on the minority and not everyone, it's gonna fail. And I feel like the minority that they're focusing on is the rich here, instead of focusing on all Americans. And I feel like once they get that, then things will definitely be ran a little much better than that.
Thank you so much. And just really, I want to remind the audience, based on what you just said here, they're not customers, they're citizens, and more importantly, they build cars for Ford. They pay more in taxes than the president does. These are more Americans than these people are more American than the president of the United States is an American. Speaking of the president, I have had the opportunity to actually interview quite a few of his supporters, including folks who identify as white supremacists, folks who identify as 3%er, and in that mix, I have had surprisingly encountered folks who want to unionize themselves because their own workplace is mistreating the workers. And so it brings me to this point that constantly puzzles me is a lot of voters on the conservative sides are lower income classes, are middle income classes, are workers that are exploited by the billionaire class. And yet they don't share this same perspective that a lot of people who didn't vote for Donald Trump share, which is that the billionaire they see the billionaires as the goal. They see the billionaires as the ideal place that they too want to be, instead of seeing them as what they truly are, which is parasitic to our system and parasitic to exploiting workers like you guys. So to make the long story short, sorry that went up a little far, but if you could speak to these folks that vote against their own interest and putting exploitative leaders into power, how would you hopefully speak to them to help bring them to your side?
I just want to say something real quick.
Sure, yeah.
So I would say that knowledge is power, and these people are, I think, the people who are in those situations and kind of contradict what they are voting for. I think that they're ignorant to the fact that Donald Trump and the current administration doesn't view them the same way they view Donald Trump. And the lack of knowledge and the ignorance to that fact shows in a lot of their interviews, because a lot of the things that they say contradict what they believe. So, I just think that knowledge is power and health is wealth. And we need to start focusing on gaining the knowledge that raises up the next generation with the right information.
Yeah, that was real good, Lenny. Thanks for stealing all that from me. One thing you got to understand whenever you're dealing with something like this, right? Everything always comes as a package deal, right? You go out, we work in the auto industry. I'm just going to use automobiles. So you buy a car and you say, this is the car I want. This is what I really like. This is what's going to fit me, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, I really don't like the color, but everything else is right. Is that going to keep you from buying a car that you need, that's going to fit your needs just because you don't like the color? So you got priorities. You have to prioritize what's important to you, right? So is it the heated seats? Is it the size of the engine? Is it the fuel economy? Is it the number of passengers? Is it the moonroof? Is it the speed? But what all that is playing on is a lot of your emotions. So we got to quit thinking about things so emotionally and think about things logically. And a lot of people, when they vote their emotion, right? I'm not going to lie. I hold some conservative views on a lot of things, but I'm also a blue collar worker and I support our workers. So if you ask me, oh, well, party, what are you red or are you blue? Well, I bleed red, but my collar is blue. So that just kind of sums it up, right? I don't make my decisions based upon my emotions. I'm not going to I'm not going to buy something knowing that it's going to come with something that's completely against my morals, right? I'm also not going to vote for something just because it fits one of my morals, but it's going to shoot a bunch of other things down in the long run. So you got to look at things in terms of a package deal. You got to weigh your pros and your cons. And then the question is when do the pros outweigh the cons? And the weight of that is all based upon your own personal agenda, your own personal opinion, your own personal morals and values. So that's where everybody gets different. And then what bugs me the most is people want to argue with each other about that, right? And just because you got a different view, now you're wrong? No, man. We could still respect each other and have different views because your view is going to be different than mine because we walk two different styles of life. So if we had that respect for each other and understanding for each other, our decisions and the things that we do would change. We wouldn't be making this. You might go out and instead of just trying to save yourself a couple dollars by buying something cheap, you're going to go and buy something more American that's going to put the jobs into the United States because in turn, that's going to come around to feed us back. You know what I'm saying? You just got to look at the big picture.
Well, I don't believe in voting for something that does not have my interest in it, but I'm a co-chair of my Civil and Human Rights Committee, so I may go a little bit deeper in this. But when you do things like what just happened with this past election, when people just went against things of their own and that would give them something, but they went against their own will because of who the president is now. See, the world we live in right now, it's a very sexist world, okay? And I've been seeing it, and the world does not want a woman for the president, period. They would vote for somebody like Donald Trump, who's not qualified as a president, than to give a chance to somebody who's actually qualified, if it's a female. You know, we had a black president, Barack Obama, okay, but if we can get across that mode of where we're afraid to let a woman lead this country, we'll be a better place.
That was great, guys. I think anytime you vote against your own beliefs, it's simply to pretty much state your hate is stronger than your love. So I can hate this group so much, and I know that the government isn't going to protect this group, the president isn't going to protect this group, and I hate them this much that I'm going to vote against what I actually like. So when the hate is stronger than the love, that's why you get people voting certain ways.
Thank you. I cannot agree more. And I love that you brought up the 2024 election. Just a little story on my end because I worked on that campaign and that video where Obama called up Kamala and say, "Hey, we endorse you." That I made that video, and I can confirm it is true. Before we put out any ad for the campaign, we run them through focus group to make sure it's worth putting $1 million behind. And a lot of the result that came back from these groups does say, it's just because she's a woman. We don't want to vote for her. It's unfortunate. Going back to the work that you are doing as union leaders here, in 2023, I was in the Writers Guild, and we came together. We also went on a big strike right before you guys did, and we came together right after that to write the Bill of Rights for the Writers Guild, which took a year, try to set a standard for what the industry should be treating their writers. And very quickly after that, we fell behind because the expansion, the extent at which AI technology is growing, we just struggle to catch up. So I'm curious about your end, the bargaining deals that you guys had then. What would you change now, especially going into the 2028 new bargaining cycle? And how do you keep up? What gives you a hope that this constant change in the economy and constant change in technology is even gonna help? How do you keep up with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, when you start talking about bargaining contracts for things that might come up in the future, it's real hard to do. So you do have to kind of put some workable language in there that can be, I wouldn't say manipulated, could be massaged to work in whichever way we need it to, right? Because something's going to come up and everyone's like, oh, well, there's nothing that says that I can't. And I'm like, well, where does it say that you can? So if you want to start that argument, and so it's all about interpretation of the language, intent of the language. Anytime we go into bargaining and we're at a bargaining table against a company and we're having these conversations back and forth, we got to be taking our notes. Know who said what, know the intent of what was, because then when we get back and we get a contract passed and we're trying to enforce it, they'll be like, oh no, that's not what that says. Yeah, but that's what the intent was. Here's my notes, and this person, and this person, and this person on your side all agreed. So you got to make sure we take some notes on some things, right? I think some of the major things that we're going to be looking for when we go into these next contract negotiations is we're looking for American investment. We're looking for commitment. Some of the things that these companies are backing out on right now, like what was Stellantis tried backing out up in Belvedere and try to shut that plant back down before it even got up and running again. And I mean, it's a huge backlash on that from everywhere. Like that was also an agreement that was kind of like enticed by the government, by the Illinois state government, was enticing them to go ahead and make this investment. We'll cut you tax breaks or whatever. So they're taking these tax breaks of whatever they're getting, and then they just say, yeah, I know we know we promised to open that back up for you, but we're not going to do that. Belvedere kind of got it hard over there, and they lost a lot of their people. So I think what we're looking for is we're going to be probably looking for not just our gains, but job security, investments here, maybe some callback rights for some people that might have moved away from their families to go support themselves at another job opening states away. And then now what? Now it's starting to open back up. I personally think they should be some of the first ones to get called back or get the right to be able to transfer back to your hometown, your own plant, so you can be with your family. You can reunite your kids with their grandparents or whoever it is over there. But there's probably going to be more language if they start veering away from what they agreed to do and start pulling their plugs and who they say they're investing with and what they're going to dump their money into, and they start shutting down plants that they promised product to. We need more strength language wise in order to be able to fight them in a legal battle, because like I said, you send this up to the NLRB and we can't even get a ruling because they're basically out of commission. They got down to 2 people. I'm not sure if any of that has changed recently, but that was the last understanding that I was. We're going for it. We're looking for future movement, or we're looking for future protection, and we're looking to make sure that we have a progress forward, because we don't want to sit stagnant like we did for so long.
You said it all, buddy.
Right. You said a mouthful. You said everything.
I just want to say that one thing that gives me hope is my bargaining team. I had a great bargaining team in 2023 that was able to get us the gains that we needed at the time, and now there's new things that we need to get and more things that we need to strive for. So that's something that gives me hope, is my bargaining team and the unity in my membership. In 2023, when we first went on strike, I was a little nervous because I didn't know how our membership was going to respond. But we have over 5,500 members and, maybe 2,000 retirees, and they were all ready and supporting each other. And, that's the one thing that helps me and motivate me in knowing that in 2028 is going to be a great year.
Thank you so much. And I guess to close out on this note of hope, as you mentioned earlier, the big three is kind of falling apart, which is very disheartening to hear. For the folks who are considering unionizing or considering joining a union in particular and still nervous about, especially with all the horror story of union busting, of bullying, of targeting workers who want to stand up for one another, what message do you have for them? And what advice, if they're starting out, what do you have?
All right, they're in for a fight. The companies are definitely in for a fight. And when we fight, we win. Now, you're gonna see a lot of these things where people are afraid to join a union because they think that all we're there is to take money from their paychecks and then sit on it. But they don't see all the benefits that they're getting, all the benefits in the contract that have been negotiated because of unions. If it wasn't for unions, we wouldn't have this 40-hour work week. Someone's going to try to fact check me on that. But I'm telling you, man, you could twist that up any way you want. You can paint it one way or you can paint it another. But I personally believe all of our safety rights and everything was all formed upon the unions when we had that big movement, the union movement. Now, when you look at it here, the labor movement now is turned full swing. We are back hammering hard like a freight train, and we're not stopping. And if something gets in our way, I mean, it's kind of hard to stop a freight train from moving. It's going to hurt, but we're getting through. All right. And the more people that get on that train with us, the more power we have. That's the power of numbers. And that's what I highly recommend people just don't worry about that extra little bit of money that might be going out of your check for dues. Believe me, that's investment money. That's well invested. We have so many benefits as being a union member, and we have so much that we've gotten out of that company in collective bargaining. I can't understand why people just in the working class wouldn't want to be part of a union where somebody helped some. You know what I'm saying?
Well, me, myself, personally, I advise anybody, any job you get, you want to be in the union. See, as a union, as a matter of fact, I'm going to change that up. Not as a union, as an individual, I can stand up here and be strong as I want to, but I can't fight a company by myself. See, when you got the union with you, these are all my union brothers and sisters right now. If I'm going through something, they going through something. They're going to support me, I'm going to support them. See, the difference between working non-union and working union, I worked a non-union job before I worked a union job. Supervisor came in one day with an attitude, told me he didn't like the shirt I had on. I'm fired. Nobody to stand up for me, nobody to fight for my job back. See, these are some of the benefits you guys don't see because you may not be union yet. We get medical benefits, dental benefits, vision, and the pay is pretty good too. But it can be better because the economy is going up, and when the economy goes up, pay should go up as well. And that's what the union fights for. Anytime the economy goes up, your local union will be fighting for your raises, for your medical benefits, your retirees, your Social Security, your pensions, and things of that sort. It's more to life to being in a union than just signing a card and saying I'm a union member. We fight for our rights. We don't just sit down. We stand up and we fight back every time.
Ditto.
Just again, to piggyback off of everything they're saying, the people who don't want to join a union, they just don't know about the benefits. They don't know about the gains. They don't know about the family that I have here at this union hall. These brothers and sisters got my back like you wouldn't believe, and that's because we spent time together, unifying our community, unifying our membership. Knowledge is power, and we pass it along.
Good stuff. I can definitely go on and on about all the benefits that the union has provided me and my family. And but one thing is, if you cut out the union, you're definitely going to cut out half or even more of the middle class. And so unions are very important. And I think it's very important, like I say, to join the union, have so many different benefits to the union. And a lot of times people see unions divided and things like that. And those are the only things that make a weak union, is when they're divided. But when you stick together as a union, you can accomplish so much. So I would definitely say be a part of a strong union and stick together.
UAW.
UAW.
United Auto Workers.
Thank you guys, and I cannot stress enough, if you drive a car, you need to care about the story, not just because this is unique to UAW. The struggle they fight here at Ford is universal in many companies, not just auto, but across the industries. So as independent news, it is not just our job, we take it as a civic duty to follow up and to stay on top of their stories and their fights. As you guys just heard, there's going to be more bargaining happening in 2028. We want to be here, strike or not, in order to document and speak to folks and learn more about what's going on the ground in America. And we're here in Chicago, which our team was just here later last year at the Broadview Detention Center, and just to stress the importance of having independent news coverage on the ground. We started covering the Broadview Detention Center in September, when at the height of it there were about 200 people being detained wrongfully in that facility, and with the public pressure built from independent news channels like us bringing folks on the ground and protesting, they were able to bring that number from 200 down to 4 by the time we left. So it is effective, and we hope to continue to get your support, not just for the folks here, for us as independent news, but just for the average working American in general. So continue to tune in, like, and subscribe. And we are going to go live again in about an hour at the anti-war protest in downtown Chicago. So thank you guys. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
UAW.
Yeah, UAW 551.
That's right. Stick together.
Beautifully put. Thank you guys so much. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Let's do your thing. Let me just. All right, guys. So we're gonna be live. Just a few. You guys can talk. Don't worry about it. All right. All right. So make sure you subscribed. I'm gonna wrap up here. We're gonna be live again in about an hour in downtown Chicago. It's a protest against the war with Iran. So make sure you subscribed. And we were in the car for like 7 hours today, driving from Michigan to Berwyn, Illinois. Now what town is this? The Chicagoland? Yeah, Chicagoland area. So it's very expensive to travel multiple states in such a short time. So if you can, become a member, sign up now. It's $5 for as low as $5 a month, 16 cents a day. Really helps with airfare, hotels, rental car, food, gas. Gas is like $4 and up everywhere you go. So yeah, if you can, sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. Really appreciate it. So we'll see you again soon. Make sure you subscribe to get that notification. All right, see you soon.